Okay, we're going to start a report back. So we'll go around to each of the tables and have the students who are at that table give us the 3 or 4 main points or the issues they think are very important that were discussed at the table. So we're going to start over here with Matt.
Good evening. My name's Matt. We had social issues, and the 3, I would say, main points that came out of this were social housing. How do we solve that? And one of the big things was using modular homes, so CCANs, and putting them on perhaps city open spaces. Another one was the drug issue, the opioid crisis. We figured that all 3 levels of government need to be involved. And last but not least, we wanted to use the youth, the men, the women, and the elderly all as one and make sure the community has a voice. So in terms of social housing and affordable housing and the opioid crisis, everybody needs to be included in that, not just the men or not just the women, everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. So now we'll move over to our second social issue table. Matt?
Thank you. My name is Graham. I am first year student planner, and we're here to talk social issues again. So, affordable housing is a hot topic in Nanaimo and across Canada. So, addressing affordable housing first is a step to solving homelessness and increasing the helping with public safety. Social housing starts with all levels of government need to be involved, municipal, provincial, and federal, and it also starts with you and I. If we are making an attempt to address the affordable housing crisis, then the government will start looking at what we're doing to help. And again, just look at some of the strengthening bylaws and looking at zoning bylaws to include carriage houses and properties and things like that. Yeah, thanks.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Graham. Okay, over to Stephen.
Hey guys, I'm Steve. That was really easy. You guys were way too civil. We got all this hot button politic issues. It was no problem. That's easy. So one of our main discussions was about the car versus people and how to make the city more pedestrian friendly. So maybe some traffic calming. We talked about a pilot project down some of the main streets that would have maybe close the street off at different hours of the day, or maybe close it off for a little while and see what the response is amongst the businesses. We talked about how we could revitalize some of the existing spaces. There was mention of Diana Krall Plaza. People really like the front area of it, but the whole backspace is definitely underutilized at this point. We talked about how to get some more housing downtown. We need people down there to get a more vibrant area. So how do we attract people to actually live there? We need affordable housing, and that's really the barrier to young people, is that they can't afford to buy a place downtown, or maybe not even they can't afford to even rent there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much covers our table. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Over to Jordan. Here.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan. We were doing garbage and recycling. Lots of talk about the NRE, the Nanaimo Recycling Exchange. And we'd like to talk a lot about having a new facility and what that means and how do we make that happen. So lots of discussion on that, which was really good. The other thing was we want to take the time to acknowledge that we are doing actually a really good job in Nanaimo. We are quite progressive, and we're doing quite well in terms of becoming a green city. So we had a lot of discussion about what does that mean and what can we do to really stand out. How can we make it, how can we become the next San Francisco? How can we stand out on the island below? And one of the ways we talked about that is maybe having a one-stop recycling. So a lot of people found it very difficult to do these. They wanted to recycle, but if you have to drive from place to place, how can we how can we stop that? How can we make it easy for everyone and make recycling fun? Yeah.
Okay, we'll head over to the other side of the room. I feel like Phil Donahue, or there's an old reference there. To the back, transportation and infrastructure. Amelia.
Hi everyone, my name is Amelia. So, transportation and infrastructure. So our first key point was connectivity. So to bus stops in the residential neighborhoods. So more crosswalks that lead to sidewalks. And connectivity between neighborhoods, so you can go, especially in the north end it came up, it's not very easy or fast to walk to different neighborhoods, and just the impact that has on walkability. So active transportation, a big thing that came up was separated bike lanes, and just more cycling infrastructure overall in the city so people feel safe going out on their bikes. That was a big prohibiting factor to people using their bikes. And then it came up a connected waterfront multi-use path that goes from the south to north end. So safety, safer roadways for pedestrians and cyclists, better lighting, especially in the dark residential areas. They talked about Commercial Street being pedestrian only or possibly one way, or with traffic calming measures so pedestrians and vehicles can both be safe. And parking. We talked about the INN. Some talked about it, how it should be converted into a trail. Some said maintaining it so we can have a connection with the South Island for alternative ways to get to Victoria. Public transit, better bus service to the hospital, and bus service to the airport. And then one thing that came up was that all new developments need to be integrated into the community in a way where people can, use their bikes or walk. And there should be services in those new developments so people don't always have to be in their cars to go to get their services.
Thank you. Very comprehensive. Over to community engagement.
At our table, we noticed that there is a big distrust in the community engagement process in Nanaimo, so we've got it down to 3 major points. The first is that there should be a strengthening of neighborhood associations to encourage citizen representation. There should be more meaningful, authentic communication, and perhaps to try new technology to get ongoing feedback from the city. And lastly, to have a culture where asking questions makes you feel heard and respected at all levels. Emails were being sent without responses. Speaking before council often comes too late in the process to have any meaningful impact. And speaking at council itself needs to lead to more opportunity for engagement.
All right. And last, over to our wild card table, the rowdiest of them all.
Thanks, Pam. My name's Haley. We were the wild card table, so we got to talk about everything but the 5 other topics. Those were our no-fly list. So we talked about a lot of different topics. I'm going to just highlight a few of them for you. The first was development and growth. So neighborhood development was seen as something great for the community, but there was some strong, let's proceed with caution. There was some people that really wanted to ensure community values were reflected in the approvals process for new development. And some sense that we're growing really fast here in Nanaimo, but let's do it right the first time to avoid issues like increased pollution and increased sprawl. We also talked a little bit about economic development. We wanted a more concerted and direct effort to support economic development in the city and to leverage both our transportation connections, such as the airport, the ferry hubs at the highway, along with the university for research and development, and to find more ways to retain students in the community once they've graduated from the world-class programs. We talked about urban nodes. So the dynamics of urban nodes like Woodgrove, Country Club, and Northtown Center outside of the downtown, and the importance of increased residential development in these areas. More people makes nodes more connected through transportation, and good transit needs high density. And one more topic that we talked about was the South Downtown waterfront development. And this sort of became an anchor for a lot of the other topics that we talked about, including neighborhood density along the waterfront, connecting the nodes, economic development, and really a catalyst for improved First Nation relations. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all the students. Thank you to all of you for participating tonight. And before I turn the mic back over to our task force, I wonder if you would mind just putting your right hand out like this, just in front of you, face up. If you could, everyone has to do it or I look like a weirdo if I'm doing it by myself. Okay? And then bend your arm at the elbow like this and give yourself a pat on the back for spending a Thursday night working on something very important.